One really interesting side effect of the Techlore Clips channel, which is the channel where we clip different types of content and we publish it as unique, like short videos essentially. So in this live stream, many of these questions I'm answering are going to end up on the Techlore Clips channel.
Let's get something straight. Breaking a single video into clips doesn't make them unique. In fact, it's a tactic for lazy creators like you. Instead of using some of these questions as topics for creating actual unique videos, you'd rather upload segments of a live stream you've already made.
So what we've noticed on Techlore Clips is when we brand videos as privacy and security videos. So for example, like this messenger is unprivate, XYZ. It just doesn't perform as well as this messenger did what? And what I'm trying to say here is when we brand these videos towards a wider demographic and we don't brand it around privacy and security, they almost across the board perform better than when we brand them as privacy and security related, which makes sense because a lot of people don't care about privacy and security. They're not on YouTube to watch privacy and security content specifically.
I believe the word you're looking for is clickbait. And of course your videos are going to perform better because of it. Tons of creators use it for that reason. Not sure why you're treating this like some new revolutionary discovery.
And so that's what we've noticed on Techlore Clips, is that when we brand things towards a wider audience and then we maybe throw in some privacy into the concept, then it performs better. And so we're slowly trying to tinker with like integrating that into the main Techlore channel. We've been playing with that now in surveillance support, and it's actually been very successful for us. If anyone's been watching surveillance support the last couple months and you pay attention to some of the branding.
Oh, we've definitely noticed your piss poor branding. Viewers practically begged you for months to properly label your titles and thumbnails while you were dicking around.
Unless it's a really big name in the privacy space, we're trying to avoid privacy and security branding, and we're trying to reach wider demographics to pretty much try to bring privacy to more people, because at the end of the day, if you only brand the privacy, you're only branding to people who are either searching for privacy or are already involved with privacy. And we're hoping to kind of expand beyond that, and that's kind of what we've been noticing back here.
You're supposedly a privacy and security channel. Why would you even try to brand yourself as anything else? It's like you're trying to distance yourself from the privacy space or trying to game YouTube's algorithm through clickbait. Which is ironic, given how you've publicly expressed how much you dislike clickbait.
We're literally forced in a position where we either have to be extreme to some extent to get clicks, or we don't. And it isn't that black and white. There is lots of room for middle ground, but our toughest job back here, and like I spend hours on each of our thumbnails and titles. That is not an exaggeration. I spend hours on each of them because it is so hard to strike the right balance of like legit bait versus clickbait versus being like heavily misleading, because there's so many videos that like I know we could have got 5 times the performance on if we just worded the title a little bit differently, but it would have set the wrong expectation. And on YouTube, you have to have a good title and thumbnail to get attention. What's really frustrating to me is why this is so hard back here is I have to find the perfect title and the perfect thumbnail that is attention grabbing, but not fear mongering, because I want things to be ethical. And we've had so many opportunities, and I say this behind the scenes sometimes. I think we can have 1 million subscribers if we just leaned into like fear mongering and like ridiculous tactics on YouTube, because it would work. We would get so many clicks, we'd get so much attention. And so it's really frustrating for me because I know, and I'm in this game of like having to find attention-seeking headlines and thumbnails in an ethical way. I'm in this. I have a stake in this world. It's annoying when Proton doesn't do it right. But I'd say probably the biggest challenge I consistently deal with is striking the balance between the whole balance of like clickbait and legit bait and just factual. I feel like a lot of privacy content creators, and this is just a content creator problem in general, not even specific to the privacy world, really lean on extreme takes to get their points across and get people to click. And yeah, it gets people to click and these videos go viral. And I always tell my team over at Techlore, like, I'm pretty sure that we could hit 1 million subscribers if we really wanted to. But the way we would do that would be by like leaning into every extreme take that we could possibly do. And that is not the community, nor the channel, nor the content that we're trying to make. We're trying to make very evidence-based content that like really helps people, that really gives them like what they can realistically do. We're not trying to fearmonger. We're not trying to like take people away from the actual like doable things. But that also means like our very informational videos don't perform that well. So it's really hard to like combine the two concepts of like still trying to like get our voice out there and like spread privacy to the masses, but also do it in a way where everything is still like grounded in evidence, grounded in reason. It's a big struggle back here, and it's something we're always trying to find the right balance of. It's hard to do it well. It's probably my biggest challenge.
So much for that integrity you kept preaching about.
And someone says, you have to clickbait, we get it. And it's not even clickbait. It's like there's ways to clickbait what I'm speaking to, for sure. But even without clickbait, it's actually how we market things.
Oh, a bullshit artist.
So a good example of this is the Proton Pass video. So I can choose to brand a Proton Pass video as, Proton Pass is awesome, XYZ. And that's great. But that means that someone has to actively be looking for Proton Pass, and that pretty much really limits what your target demographic can be, versus here's why this is my favorite password manager. Means that now anyone who's looking for a password manager is the target demographic.
You're assuming the average person is seeking out things like a password manager when it's clearly not the case. If that were true, there wouldn't be a need to constantly deter people from bad password habits.
So that's an example of how it's not even necessarily clickbait, it's just choosing how we market something and what the video is even about.
This jackass really thinks he's the next Don Draper, doesn't he?
And it's pretty much more of these broader, wider audience videos that we might try to lean more into. Not all the time, because I still think it's good to have specific content for like the specific privacy and security community. But when you try to branch out, you actually do see a lot of people like start discovering privacy and then find your other content.
In other words, Henry is going to completely shift into this new direction. But he's going to do it slowly over time so you don't notice the change.
My 9th grade science teacher once told me that if you put a frog in boiling water, it'll jump right out. But if you put it in cold water and heat it up gradually, it'll just sit there and slowly boil to death.
So just a little bit of the nuance there, because you can actually clickbait either of those things. And I think that like a lot of people will do that. And there definitely is a fine line between clickbait and like attention bait, whatever you want to call it.
It's still clickbait. Changing the term doesn't change what you're referring to. In fact, giving it a different name is a sign of deception.